Hello guys, welcome to the channel, Talking with Jay Springer. I'm your host Jay, giving you a video on the channel today. Hello guys, welcome to the Journey to X-Men Dark Phoenix YouTube series where I've reviewed the whole X-Men franchise and I'm going to be ranking them from the worst to the best in a couple of days time. Now I've just been to see the movie Dark Phoenix. I've got my thoughts on it. Is it worth your time and money? Is it not? Let's find out. Dark Phoenix. This is directed by Simon Kinberg, who is a first-time director of this project. He's been producing and writing some of the films backstage for quite a while now. This is an action fantasy sci-fi movie around 1 hour and 54 minutes long and released today on the 5th of June 2019. Jean Grey begins to develop incredible powers that corrupt her and turn her into the Dark Phoenix. And the X-Men will have to decide whether one life of a team member is more important than the life of the people living in the real world. Let's jump straight into the good points. Now the good points about this movie is the first act of this movie, in my opinion, is phenomenal. I think it builds up a great story. In this movie it's very colourful and Simon Kinberg's direction throughout this movie, in my opinion, was absolutely impressive. For a first director role, I think he done a great job, and I felt like even though it had all its problems, I think he's still done a great job of showing his vision of what he had. There was some other decisions that he made that could be adjusted and changed, but for a first director role, I think he done a great job. The tone of the movie was absolutely awesome. It was very dark throughout the whole movie, and I feel like it sets the mood right from the opening scene. In this movie, we go through a load of emotions, especially if you love the actors who have played and put the time and effort into these characters that we know and love. Technically, this movie is flawless. I think the camera work was great throughout the movie. I think the editing, the lighting and the CGI look great. Now, a lot of people really criticise the CGI, but I personally felt like the CGI, they done a great job. This movie had them awesome action scenes, which definitely you're going to enjoy, especially in that finale. Now, the main story is focused around Jean, and I think they've done a great job in merging her past, like all the flashbacks and stuff, with the present. I feel like they've done a great job with that, and it just made the movie flow a lot better. Some of the side characters in this movie got big performances and the spotlight shown on them. I felt that was a great point because especially characters like Cyclops and Nightcrawler, if you look at them in Apocalypse and compare them to this movie, they've grown so much their character arc and they get a lot more impressive in this movie. Now, especially when it comes to Nightcrawler, if you look at him in Apocalypse, he was just used to teleport, and that was it pretty much. He weren't used to a great deal. In this movie, you get to see a lot more from him. And Cyclops as well, as the character grows, you really get to feel for the character, understand the character, and really connect with the character in this movie. I felt like Storm was a great addition to this movie too. I felt this was much better seeing her on the good side compared to Apocalypse. I felt like it was the character that we really needed to see. Now, the main good thing about this movie is the performances from the cast with these characters that we're saying goodbye to initially. And I feel like if we start from the top, if we start with Sophie Turner playing as Jean Grey and the Phoenix, I feel like she was absolutely flawless throughout the movie. I think her story was told great. I feel like her acting was great. I'll be shocked if she don't get snapped up by another big movie or another big TV series soon, because she was absolutely great for the movie. She sets the tone. She literally just done everything in this movie. She was the lead and impressed the hell out of me. James McAvoy as Charles Xavier. Again, if you've seen my other reviews for the other movies when it comes to this cast, James McAvoy just continues to impress me. In this movie, they took a different angle with the Charles Xavier character. I'm glad they did. He just goes to show he can do anything. And with this character, he really takes pride and really puts 110% in, just like Michael Fassbender as Eric Magneto. Now, Michael Fassbender isn't in the movie a whole lot compared to the other movies, but when they're both on the screen, they just bring it. And when they bring it, I mean they bring it, because like, you just know good talent when you can see one. Like, that's just what they bring, and their chemistry together. If it ain't together, it's with everybody else around them. They make everybody else around them so much better. That's just how good these two are. Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique and Raven. Now, if you've seen my reviews, you know I'm a big critic of this character because I feel like they went down the wrong route, going down the good path rather than the bad path. They suddenly went down in Days of Future Past where she was going through the bad path, and she was going really good through that. and they brought her back onto the good path, and I just don't like that. But in this movie, I see why it all paid off now, and I feel like they've done a great direction going through with this character in this movie, because I really cared for the character a lot more in this movie. I felt like she was a lot more open. I felt it was a lot more like Jennifer Lawrence as a person. So I feel like she done great. She has a lot of praise for me when it comes to this movie. As well as Nicholas Hoult playing as Hank and Beast. A big shout out to this guy. What a performance. Absolutely smashed it. I really enjoyed this character in this movie. Stepped it up big time from the other movies. Took it to a whole new level in my opinion. On to the bad points. Now the bad points about this movie is the villain in this movie. The story, the motive behind the villain wasn't explained. The villain turned up and you just had to figure it out. So the stakes weren't made in the beginning. Normally a villain shows up, does something, and you go, okay, I understand why they're doing what they're doing. That's it. In this movie, they didn't do that. That was something that really annoyed me watching this movie. Jessica Chastain as Vuk in this movie had a goal which was understandable, but didn't have the build-up and the direction behind the character that it needed, which made this character quite forgettable. Some of the characters, mainly the side characters in this movie we aren't familiar with, are not written great in the movie. Like, they're saying things that they wouldn't say, and it just really makes them different, which then goes on to the dialogue, which was, some of it was really cringy as well, because you had people saying quotes that they just wouldn't say from the other movies. They just suddenly changed. Like, it just made it feel very awkward watching. Another bad point is Quicksilver wasn't in the movie a lot. I found this a bit sad, because when Quicksilver's in there, there's humour, and it led to not being a lot of humour throughout the movie. I know it was a serious, dark movie, but sometimes that little bit of humour can just elevate someone's mood and just makes it flow a bit better. And the last main bad point about this movie for me is the story of Jean could have been explored a whole different way. And what I mean by this is the character. I feel like the character arc could have been shown a different way. I know Jean is dark in this thing. She does good and bad things throughout this movie. Some things that make you go, whoa, or she does things, right? At the end of the day, she's Pheonix. But I feel like they could have done something much darker. Now, I think that's due to the rating as well of this movie. It's only a 12A. If they had maybe put it up, maybe they could have explored with this character, make her more of a threat. So guys, it's rating time. Let's have a look at what the critics had to rate this movie. As it stands, we have IMDb with a 6.2 out of 10. Metacritic with a 44. And Rotten Tomatoes with a 21%. My rating for this movie is a 7 out of 10. That makes this a good
that's
movie.
Pretty good.
So guys, where I've been doing this Journey to X-Men Dark Phoenix YouTube series, I was so excited to go and see this movie. And even when other people weren't, and other people brung their reviews out like today and yesterday for example, I've defended this franchise through the worst of it. All I expected as a casual fan of the franchise and the movies and superhero movies, I just expected this movie to do better than the last. Now, did I think this was better than Apocalypse? Yes, I did. I thought this was a lot better than Apocalypse. And this movie isn't as bad as everybody is saying. So I want you guys to go and check it out for yourself. Definitely I recommend it. Especially going through what it went through with delays, re-edits, reshoots, and all the problems it had. I think it done a pretty good job. And the director done a great job in doing this movie the way he'd done it compared to what it could have turned out. This movie for me was to come out pleased and just to say goodbye to these actors that have done a phenomenal job over the last couple of movies, putting stuff on the screen that I loved with these characters. And if you're a die-hard X-Men comic book fans, there's going to be things you can pick out that are bad, but there's things good with this movie as well. And I think all you need to do is give it a chance. And I'm sure there's people out there that are going to love this movie or hate it. It's a love or hate movie. But for me, I loved it. A 7 out of 10 for Dark Phoenix from me. Don't forget to leave your ratings, your thoughts and everything down below in that comment section without spoiling, guys, please. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up, lets me know you're enjoying the content. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for much more. If you're new here, you ain't going to want to miss the stuff coming up on the channel, just like the spoiler review for this movie, as well as the ranking of the whole X-Men franchise. That is going to be a hell of a fun to end the journey, so you guys ain't going to want to miss that. To stay notified of when I'm uploading those videos, follow me on Twitter at jspringit94. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the journey. If you haven't seen the journey so far, there'll be a link in the description for you guys for the playlist. It'll take you from X-Men 1 up until this point, and all the other stuff will be going in there as well. It's just a fun journey. It's been really fun for me. I hope you guys have enjoyed it or enjoy it, and yeah, it's just been so much fun. It's just such a shame it's coming to an end, really. But without further ado, guys, I've been me, you've been you, and I'll see you next time on Talking with Jay Springett.